In a significant development that highlights the intersection of public health and politics, the Trump administration is facing backlash due to its recent controversial policies regarding autism and vaccine discourse. This comes at a time when the U.S. grapples with a growing autism diagnosis rate, which has been a point of contention since President Trump's remarks during a joint session of Congress on March 4, 2025. In an unprecedented move, he appointed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the new health secretary, a figure known for his controversial stance linking vaccines to autism. This appointment has raised alarm among parents and health professionals alike. During his address, Trump stated not long ago, "You can't even believe these numbers. 1 in 10,000 children had autism. Now it's 1 in 36. This assertion while highlighting the undeniable increase in autism diagnoses oversimplifies a complex issue. Current statistics from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) do indeed show an increase, but this is not solely attributable to environmental factors or vaccines as Trump suggested. Experts point to improved awareness, better diagnostic criteria, and broader definitions of autism as key reasons for the apparent rise. The dilemma is further complicated by Kennedy's assertion that vaccines are a primary cause of autism, a claim that has been widely discredited in the scientific community. "Were I the father of a child with autism, I would be really angry at the anti-vaccine community for taking this story hostage," commented Dr. Paul Offit, a pediatrician specializing in immunology. He emphasized that attributing autism to vaccines misdirects attention from genuine causes and solutions, which include a blend of genetics and environmental factors. This rhetoric surrounding autism and vaccines has profound implications for families navigating the challenges of autism spectrum disorder (ASD). Parents are reporting heightened fears and stigmatization as a result of the narrative being promoted by Trump and Kennedy. Davina Clyde, a mother of a child with autism, voiced her concerns, stating, "It puts a stigma on our children that their parents did something wrong when they were pregnant with them." Such sentiments reflect a broader anxiety among parents that the public discourse surrounding autism could undermine their children's needs and access to care. Kennedy's views, rooted in a belief system that many parents find dangerous and unfounded, have prompted discussions about the potential repercussions for public health policy. Lux Blackthorne, a mother of a nonverbal autistic child, fears that these beliefs could lead to legislative actions that further marginalize individuals with disabilities. She remarked, "RFK sees disabilities as a problem that needs to be fixed. He has a dangerous belief system and it's not science or fact-based." The response from the autism community has been mixed. While some see Kennedy's appointment as an opportunity to bring attention to autism research, many remain wary. Allison Singer, president of the Autism Science Foundation, noted, "Many of us in the autism community give RFK credit for wanting to study the causes of autism." However, she cautioned that any inquiry must be rooted in credible science and not driven by unfounded fears. As the Trump administration continues to navigate the complexities of public health and political discourse, the impact of these policies on families and the healthcare system remains uncertain. The potential for Kennedy to influence public health initiatives is significant, with many advocating for a focus on genuine research into the causes of autism rather than perpetuating debunked myths. The unfolding situation raises critical questions about the future of autism advocacy, public health policy, and the role of political figures in shaping narratives around health issues. As discussions continue, the autism community remains vigilant, seeking to ensure that the dialogue surrounding autism is informed by science and compassion rather than fear and misinformation. The coming months will be pivotal in determining how these dynamics will evolve, particularly in light of the forthcoming studies and public health initiatives prompted by the new administration. In a rapidly evolving political landscape, President Donald Trump's recent endorsement of a budget fix for Washington, D.C. has captured attention, highlighting the intersection of governance, local autonomy, and national politics. The proposal aims to address a substantial $1.1 billion shortfall in the district's budget and has become a focal point for discussions about federal funding and local governance. In a post on Truth Social, Trump urged the House of Representatives to swiftly pass a Senate-approved measure that would restore financial stability to the Capitol. The House should take up the D.C. funding fix that the Senate has passed and get it done immediately, he wrote, marking his first public support for efforts to resolve the budget crisis. This endorsement is significant for Mayor Muriel Bowser, who has been vocal about the detrimental effects of potential cuts on essential services, including education and public safety. The backdrop to this financial debate involves a recent funding bill passed by the House that would force the district to revert to its 2024 budget, effectively imposing cuts mid-year. Bowser has lobbied intensely against this change, arguing that it would lead to immediate layoffs of teachers and police officers, thereby undermining public safety and educational standards in the city. Despite Trump's recent support, House Republican leadership has been ambiguous about the timing of a vote on the budget fix, with Speaker Mike Johnson acknowledging the complexity of the issue. Majority Leader Steve Scalise downplayed the severity of the district's financial woes, suggesting that claims of impending financial ruin might be exaggerated. In contrast, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries emphasized the urgency of addressing the budget crisis before the House adjourns for its spring recess on April 11. The political stakes in D.C. are further heightened by Trump's ongoing focus on issues such as crime and immigration within the district. In a recent executive order, he established the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, aimed at coordinating federal and local efforts to tackle crime and homelessness while also addressing immigration enforcement. America's capital must be a place in which residents, commuters, and tourists feel safe at all hours, the order stated. However, Trump's rhetoric has often included criticisms of D.C. as a city in need of cleaning up, indicating a complex relationship between the federal government and the Capitol. In a surprising twist, Eleanor Holmes Norton, the district's non-voting delegate in the House, expressed agreement with Trump's call for the budget fix. Norton linked the situation to Washington's broader struggle for statehood, arguing that the financial issues underscore the need for D.C. to govern itself with the same autonomy afforded to states. This ordeal, however, only helps to highlight the need for D.C. statehood, she stated, emphasizing that local governance should reflect local needs without federal interference. As the political landscape continues to shift, the implications of Trump's endorsement could pave the way for significant changes in how the District of Columbia manages its finances and governance. The upcoming weeks will be crucial as Congress approaches its recess and the D.C. budget situation remains unresolved, with a mix of local and national interests at play. The outcomes may not only affect the funding of essential city services but also the broader dialogue surrounding the autonomy and status of Washington, D.C. as a political entity. Looking ahead, the resolution of the budget crisis may not only set a precedent for future financial governance in the district but could also influence the ongoing discussions regarding D.C. statehood. As pressures mount both locally and nationally, the next steps taken by Congress and the White House will be pivotal in shaping the future of the Capitol and its residents. In a surprising turn of events, President Donald Trump recently withdrew Representative Elise Stefanik's nomination for the position of U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, a decision that has left many within the Republican Party reeling. This abrupt move, announced just hours after Trump made a pointed omission of Stefanik during a Women's History Month event, underscores the complexities and tensions within the GOP as it navigates a narrow majority in the House. At the event, Trump recognized several Republican women, yet notably failed to mention Stefanik, who was present and had been a prominent nominee. This omission raised eyebrows among attendees, especially since her name was included in the prepared remarks. Less than 24 hours later, Trump announced the withdrawal of her nomination, citing concerns over maintaining the delicate Republican majority in the House and the potential disruption caused by a special election for Stefanik's seat. The unexpected fallout has sparked confusion and concern among GOP lawmakers, particularly as Stefanik had previously garnered bipartisan support during the committee process. Speaker Mike Johnson had already cautioned Trump against appointing House members to administration roles, a warning that appears to have resonated in light of the current political landscape. With the House GOP's slim majority and an impending special election in Florida, the decision reflects an administration grappling with the realities of governance amidst political maneuvering. Trump's praise for Stefanik following the withdrawal highlights the personal dynamics at play. "She is phenomenal, number one. She is a friend of mine," he stated, emphasizing her popularity in her district. However, the delicate balance of legislative power ultimately took precedence over personal allegiances. As the GOP leadership scrambles to redefine Stefanik's role in the party, she had previously given up her number 4 leadership position in anticipation of the ambassadorship. The reality is that any new position will lack the authority and resources associated with her former role, compounding the political turmoil. A separate controversy involving sensitive military information shared among high-ranking Trump administration officials has surfaced. This incident, which became public after a journalist was accidentally added to a group chat, reflects a troubling lapse in protocol and accountability within the administration. National Security Advisor Michael Waltz has taken responsibility for the mistake, yet the administration's defensive posture suggests a reluctance to acknowledge missteps. As Trump's second term unfolds, a pattern of combative determination emerges. Whether in response to internal controversies or external scrutiny, the administration appears committed to maintaining a hardline stance. Former advisor Steve Bannon noted this approach, framing it as part of a broader strategy to galvanize support among the MAGA base. Looking ahead, the implications of these developments extend beyond individual nominations or controversies. As the Republican Party braces for upcoming special elections and prepares for the 2024 campaign season, the ability to navigate these internal conflicts while presenting a united front will be crucial. The fallout from Stefanik's withdrawal and the group chat leak could serve as a litmus test for Trump's leadership style and the GOP's resilience in the face of mounting challenges. In the coming weeks, the political landscape will continue to evolve, with potential ramifications for both Trump and the Republican Party as they seek to solidify their positions ahead of critical elections. The interplay of personal relationships, party dynamics, and governance will undoubtedly shape the narrative as the administration pushes forward with its ambitious agenda amidst a backdrop of uncertainty. In a bold move that has rattled the auto industry and raised concerns about the Michigan economy, President Donald Trump has announced a sweeping 25% tariff on all foreign-made cars and light-duty trucks. This decision, described by Trump as a necessary step to bolster American manufacturing, is set to take effect on April 3, 2025, generating an estimated $100 billion in annual revenue for the U.S. government. However, the implications of this tariff are reverberating through Wall Street and beyond, leading to a significant downturn in auto stocks and raising questions about consumer costs and the broader economic landscape. The initial reaction from the market was stark. General Motors (GM), which has substantial operations outside of the U.S., experienced the most considerable decline among the Detroit 3 automakers, with its shares plummeting by over 7%. Ford and Stellantis also saw declines of 3.88% and 1.25% respectively. Collectively, the three companies have lost approximately $12 billion in market value since the start of the year, according to David Sowerby, managing director at Ancora Advisors. This sell-off reflects broader fears that increased tariffs will lead to higher vehicle prices and reduced sales as consumers brace for tighter supplies and elevated costs. The auto uncertainty will linger for months on the true consumer cost of tariffs, Sowerby noted, emphasizing the unpredictable nature of how these tariffs might affect car sales. With the U.S. market already experiencing inflationary pressures, analysts predict that the tariffs could lead to a significant slowdown in auto sales, potentially cutting them by up to 700,000 units in 2025. Amid these tumultuous developments, Trump is attempting to instill a sense of optimism by proposing a tax deduction for car loan interest applicable only to American-made vehicles. This proposal, however, faces significant hurdles in Congress amid competing priorities and a growing list of costly tax cuts under discussion. Mark Luscombe, a principal analyst for Wolters Kluwer, expressed skepticism about the feasibility of this tax break, suggesting it may be sidelined due to other legislative demands. While the tariffs are positioned as a strategy to revive American manufacturing, their fallout may not be uniformly beneficial. Some smaller manufacturers in Michigan could see an uptick in business as larger companies shift production back to the U.S. in response to tariff pressures. Brian Calley, former lieutenant governor of Michigan, noted that many companies are now exploring domestic suppliers which could benefit the state's manufacturing infrastructure. However, the broader economic implications are concerning. The tariffs have sparked fears of a recession as consumer sentiment continues to wane. Recent data from the University of Michigan shows a sharp decline in economic confidence, with many households now prioritizing essential purchases over discretionary spending. This growing pessimism is compounded by stubborn inflation, which has led consumers to brace for price increases stemming from the new tariffs. As Wall Street reacts to these developments, the outlook remains uncertain. Markets have demonstrated volatility in the wake of Trump's tariff announcements, with analysts warning that the economic landscape could worsen if consumers and businesses continue to pull back on spending. The Federal Reserve is also likely to keep interest rates steady as policymakers weigh the implications of the new tariffs on inflation and economic growth. In this complex and evolving situation, Trump's trade policies aim to reshape U.S. economic relations, but they carry the potential for unintended consequences. As the administration prepares for what it has dubbed Liberation Day on April 2, a day when reciprocal tariffs will be unveiled, the auto industry and consumers alike will be watching closely to gauge the full impact of these sweeping changes. With uncertainty lingering over future trade relations and economic policy, the coming weeks will be critical in determining the trajectory of both the automotive sector and the broader U.S. economy. In a dramatic turn of events that has sparked intense debate and scrutiny, President Donald Trump has labeled the fallout from a recent military information leak as a witch hunt. This assertion came during a press briefing from the Oval Office, where Trump sought to downplay the implications of a significant breach involving the messaging app Signal. The incident revolves around a group chat that inadvertently included a journalist, leading to the unintentional disclosure of sensitive military plans for airstrikes in Yemen. The incident came to light following a series of U.S. airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen, with messages detailing the timing and specifics of these operations published by The Atlantic. During the Oval Office briefing, Trump deflected questions regarding the leak, emphasizing instead the success of the military operation. There was no harm done because the attack was unbelievably successful, he proclaimed, despite the mounting concerns over operational security. In the wake of the leak, high-ranking officials within the Trump administration have been scrutinized. National Security Advisor Michael Waltz admitted to creating the group and taking full responsibility for the leak, while also suggesting that the journalist's inclusion in the chat might have stemmed from a security vulnerability. "I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you," Trump remarked, echoing Waltz's sentiments. This defense, however, has not quelled the criticism from both Democratic and some Republican lawmakers who question the appropriateness of using a commercial messaging app for discussing military operations. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who was implicated in the leak due to his sharing of critical details about the strikes, has faced calls for resignation. Hegseth defended his actions, arguing that the information shared was not classified. "We will continue to do our job while the media does what it does best, peddle hoaxes," he stated. However, the specificity of the information, including timestamps for military launches, has raised eyebrows among national security experts who caution that such details could jeopardize the safety of U.S. servicemen. The political fallout has been swift. Many Democrats have seized the opportunity to criticize the Trump administration's handling of national security protocols, asserting that the incident reflects a broader failure in leadership. Representative Joaquin Castro of Texas went so far as to label the administration's assurances regarding the leak as falsehoods. Meanwhile, Senator Roger Wicker, a Republican, has called for an independent investigation by the Defense Department's Office of Inspector General into the matter. Additionally, the incident has sparked discussions on the appropriateness of using commercial applications for sensitive communications among government officials. While White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt defended Signal as an approved app utilized by national security agencies, the breach has raised questions about the effectiveness of current protocols and the need for potential reforms. As the Trump administration navigates this turbulent situation, the implications of the Signal leak extend beyond immediate political ramifications. The incident has highlighted vulnerabilities in the communication practices of national security officials, raising concerns about the potential for similar breaches in the future. Furthermore, as the administration continues to downplay the significance of the leak, it remains to be seen how this will affect ongoing military operations and diplomatic relations in a region already fraught with tension. Looking ahead, the fallout from the Signal leak is likely to influence both domestic and international perceptions of the Trump administration's commitment to national security. With increased scrutiny from lawmakers and calls for accountability, the administration may face mounting pressure to establish clearer guidelines for communication in sensitive military contexts. As investigations unfold and political tensions rise, the long-term impact of this incident on U.S. military operations and the Trump administration's credibility remains uncertain. In a world increasingly fraught with geopolitical tensions, the specter of nuclear weapons looms larger than ever. As global nuclear risks surge to levels not seen since the Cold War, the call for diplomatic engagement on nuclear arms control has become urgent. Charles Oppenheimer, the grandson of the famed physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, has emerged as an unusual voice of support for former President Donald Trump's recent proposals for nuclear diplomacy. Oppenheimer argues that the time is ripe for direct conversations between the United States, China, and Russia, nations that collectively possess the vast majority of the world's nuclear arsenal. Oppenheimer emphasizes the existential threat posed by nuclear weapons, asserting that the current global order has driven many nations to view nuclear armament as a means of security. He cites the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist's alarming decision to move its doomsday clock to just 89 seconds to midnight, indicating a precarious moment in human history. An uncontrolled global nuclear arms race would be the worst outcome, he warns, noting that the doctrine of mutual assured destruction is ill-suited for today's multipolar world where multiple nuclear powers exist. Trump's advocacy for denuclearization talks is seen as a bold step towards curbing the escalating arms race. Oppenheimer asserts that if Trump is earnest about pursuing nuclear diplomacy, he will have his full support. The former president's outreach to leaders like Russia's Vladimir Putin and China's Xi Jinping could potentially lead to crucial reductions in nuclear arsenals and serve as a deterrent against other nations seeking to develop their own nuclear capabilities. The statistics are sobering. 9 countries currently possess nuclear weapons, and the arsenals of the United States, Russia, and China are among the largest. Oppenheimer argues that the past approach of stockpiling more weapons in the name of deterrence has failed, as rivals will always seek to match or exceed each other's capabilities. He invokes his grandfather's philosophy: the only safety from nuclear weapons is in cooperation. This sentiment echoes the need for a collective effort to de-escalate tensions and foster a dialogue that could pave the way for disarmament. Oppenheimer also highlights the importance of setting a precedent for future negotiations, suggesting initial steps like prohibiting artificial intelligence from launching nuclear weapons, which could garner consensus among the 3 powers. He believes that the willingness of leaders to engage directly can resurrect diplomacy in a way that bureaucratic negotiations have failed to achieve. The prospect of a meaningful commitment to reducing nuclear threats could mark a historic breakthrough comparable to the landmark arms reduction talks of the late 1980s between Reagan and Gorbachev. However, the current geopolitical climate, marked by conflicts such as the war in Ukraine, poses challenges to these diplomatic overtures. The reluctance to negotiate with adversaries must be overcome, as Oppenheimer insists that finding common ground is essential for mutual survival. The potential for a new era of nuclear diplomacy rests on leaders' willingness to transcend political differences and prioritize global security. As Oppenheimer's advocacy gains traction, the future of nuclear diplomacy remains uncertain but hopeful. If the global community can harness this moment of opportunity, it may steer the world away from the brink of nuclear disaster. The stakes are high and the path ahead will require courage and vision, but the possibility of a more secure world lies within reach if leaders are willing to engage in sincere dialogue.